Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. You know that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today, we're getting mean. We're getting cruel. We played Cruelty Squad, you see. A game about capitalism. It doesn't like it, weirdly enough. We played a game about capitalism. It doesn't like it one bit. And joining me, as always, to discuss games that are not really subtly critiques of capitalism, Pete Busby. Hello, Pete.
Hey. I always love. The less subtle the capitalism critiques, the better in my book. This is a game I found very off-putting, and I don't think any explanations about how it was supposed to be deliberate will matter to me. But good fun fact for this week.
I guess I'll leave then.
No, we encourage dissent here on Deep Listens. Fun fact for this week. So one of my favorite facts is about the plot to stock the Mississippi River with hippopotamuses.
What?
Yeah, I've mentioned that before.
Have
there
you?
was another one. I have. Trust me. I have. But another fun fact. In the 1860s, the king of then Siam, now Thailand, offered elephants to, at the time he wrote the letter, President Buchanan, but at the time it got there, President Lincoln. So Abe Lincoln had the chance to import elephants and basically stock the U.S. with elephants. But sagely, a man of wisdom as Lincoln was, he turned the offer down. And that's why we don't have any elephants today.
Why?
He said that any benefit from elephants would be displaced by steam power soon.
This is bullshit.
Yeah, this is official explanation.
His explanation was that he thought they weren't good enough pack animal. Like
basically, yeah. He said something too about the latitude. That's like we're too northern.
That's capitalism for you. You turn down some completely perfectly fine elephants because they're not efficient enough.
I like two things about this. One, that the whole value of the elephant was how big of a plow it could pull and how much food would go into the elephant. And two, that no contemplation was given to invasive elephants and what that could mean.
No.
I don't think that was even like a concept then. They were like, we just finished killing all the buffalo.
Yeah, they were like climbing gigantic mountains of buffalo skulls, being like, I don't see the problem. So I don't think they would have done the same with elephant skulls if we happened to have a shitload of elephants. But guess what? We don't. Great.
The gun that killed the buffalo will solve the elephant. That was probably their entire thought process. That other voice you've been hearing is one Jess VoidBurger O'Brien. Hello, Jess.
Hello. How you doing?
Special guest for today and picker of Cruelty Squad.
Sorry.
It's all good. And M is maybe joining later, maybe not. Unclear. Schedules got crisscrossed. So if you hear usual co-host M, yay. If you don't, schedules got weird.
Here in spirit.
Yep. All right, so before we get started, I will do our normal plugs. Just a reminder, you can get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, which I'm rapidly reconsidering if we even need that account. But write in. If you think that that's a thing that we should continue to have, tweet at me. Because if you don't, I don't know that it's necessary. You can also find our comment sections at Deep Listens Podcast. Oh, wait, no. I got all screwed up. It's downloaded to my brain. We have comment sections at deeplistens.libsyn.com, and you can also send us an email at deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. That's where you can send your emails. We are rapidly approaching our 200th episode. We will be having at least a special guest, maybe a former co-host of the show. So if you wanted to get questions in, any sort of good vibes you want to send, feel free. We will be doing, hopefully, an email episode. So get in touch. And also a reminder, abortion rights in the U.S. are fucked.
So fucked.
Please do donate to the National Network of Abortion Funds if you are in a position to do so, as per usual. And you can support this show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Jess, you have anything to plug? Anywhere where people can find you?
I'm VoidBurger on everything that currently matters. Blue Sky, the up and comer, and Twitter, the down and leaver. I don't know. People are leaving that whole website like rats on a sinking ship on a submarine. So yeah, I'm a VoidBurger on everything basically. YouTube, Twitch, all those, Patreon, all those things. I also have a VOD channel where you can watch my streams, which is VoidBurger Gaming. But that's the gist.
Excellent. All right. And normally I would throw to M for our Discord report. For the folks who support us on Patreon, they get into our Discord and then they get to shout at us and also get to pick out games for our Off the Deep End slush pile of bad RPGs. Questionable RPGs, let's say. They're not always bad. But I pay attention to the Discord. So here's a brief Discord report from me. The food channel continues to be a nightmare.
That's why I mute my own food channel.
That's fair. That's fair. Someone made a candy tier list. Pete, Jess, what do you think of the... So the candy tiers that I'm seeing right now, someone put, these are the S tier, Reese's, Starburst, Skittles, Kit Kats. Any issues you have with those?
I'm not really a Skittles guy. But...
No, I don't like Skittles either.
Okay, that's fair.
Kit Kats I agree with, though. Kit Kats is correct.
Reese's definitely too. Those
Yeah,
are top tier candy.
For
That's
sure.
fair, even though I don't like them very much.
And Starbursts, I feel like, of the chewy candies, are probably very good.
I feel like it depends on the because they got different flavor packs of it. Like, I don't like the classic ones.
But do you
But
like the
like
tropical?
Tropical ones?
Yeah.
Holy shit, now that is candy.
I
That's
feel
the
like-
one.
Oh,
Starburst are just for quitters who can't handle now and laters.
Ooh.
well, if Now and Later's tasted better, be like, sure. Also, I feel like as a kid that had braces, that was like the number one, do not eat these, like candy.
That is definitely fair. So, like, Starbursts and Now and Laters, if you have braces, are candy that you basically just need to have tremendous discipline to eat. You need to put it in your mouth and be like, I am not going to chew.
I am sucking on this.
This is a savory Starburst.
Feel free to take that out of context.
A tier, we have 100 Grand, Swedish Fish, Haribo, Bears, Twix, Crunch, Mike and Ike's, Pocky, Lemonheads, and M&M's.
Mike and Ike's.
Okay, why
Yeah.
the hell is Swedish Fish not in S tier?
Yes, that is a mistake.
That is messed up. Pocky, I feel like I don't care much about, but I feel like the general consensus for is like just because its fandom is so devoted, I think it deserves to be an S.
Lemonhead's getting a glow up here, I feel like,
Ugh.
by being
No.
an A tier.
Let's go down to F. Werther's is in there, right?
So
I
no,
like Werther's.
What?
Werther's isn't even in this.
What?
it's
'cause
not
it
even
doesn't count
involved.
as
F
It
tier.
doesn't even count as candy. It's
No.
fine.
Untiered.
F tier is simply Pez and candy
Correct.
corn.
Okay,
Okay, yeah.
that's fine.
What about Smarties, American Smarties? There's apparently different Smarties in the UK that are chocolate, but
Really?
ours are just
Chocolate.
chalk.
Chalk.
Not chocolate, chalk.
Chalk without the
Necco
lot.
wafers.
Yeah. Oh, Necco wafers, those are gross, yeah.
Those should be F. They're not even on here. I don't even see them on this list. This is a flawed list, is what I'm saying. So if you want to go into this, and we have other exciting news. We actually have news from the food channel, Pete.
Really?
Yeah, Arizona Iced Tea dropped an alcoholic beverage. How does this make you feel?
Really?
Is it $1?
I don't think it is.
Then I'm out.
What's
All
the
Arizona iced tea products should be $1.
what's the beverage?
So we've got 3 Arizona Hards, premium spiked beverage,
Yo.
green tea, ginseng, and honey, which sounds fucked up.
No.
With alcohol in it?
5% alcohol.
5%. Wow.
Thanks. I mean,
I mean, this feels. They've got that. They've got iced tea with lemon, so the traditional Arizona iced tea,
Sure.
and then a peach tea. This feels like a backdoor way to make a original Four Loko, because this is definitely ginseng, green tea, black tea. That's caffeine.
Caffeinated.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're missing out by not including their juice line, because I think the Arizona's juice that's where it's at for me. I don't really drink tea, but like the fruit punch, the friggin' like strawberry kiwi bullshit. Oh wait, that's Snapple. I forgot. But like they got a watermelon one too. I feel like that's where it's at. You gotta do the alcoholic juice.
I didn't even know they had juice.
Yeah,
my God,
and
the
I
fruit
live in
punch.
Arizona.
Yo, the fruit punch, it's so good.
Okay, yeah, I will take that into advisement. It's $1.
Yeah, well, it
That's-
should be. I don't know.
That's price to move. And then the last thing that popped up in the Discord, I feel people should know about. There's a new Law and Order coming. Law and Order Toronto: Criminal Intent, coming spring 2024 from our Canadian listeners. So watch out.
Okay. Sure.
watch out, Toronto. And I think that covers it. And also, if you want like to see weird pictures of like pre and post censorship Yu-Gi-Oh cards, the Card Games channel has you covered.
Those are so good.
They are. There's a lot of very good ones.
Yu-Gi-Oh nudity? Like what's being censored?
No, they're censoring like alcohol content and like certain outfits are a little too sexy for America and stuff.
Is this like when they like took Sanji's cigarette and made it a lollipop in One Piece?
Yes.
Close to that, yeah.
It's a lot of that. Like someone posted a card called Psychic Commander, who's a person in a military It's like a little gremlin in a military outfit. And then in the English version, they're holding one finger pointing forward. And then in the Japanese version, it's a sig hail salute.
Oh.
And it's like, oh yeah.
I thought you were gonna say a gun.
No.
Good work, censors.
That's way worse.
They got that one, but then some of them are like, hey, here's a witch, and she's in Witchcrafter Holiday. It's a witch, and she's sleeping, and it's like, oh, what did they change? Oh, maybe there was a pentagram. Maybe there was cleavage somewhere at some point. No, she was drooling, and they made the drool flesh-colored so that it didn't look like she was drooling.
Ew.
Okay.
I don't know why they thought that was better.
Fine.
Huh.
Yeah, so check that out if you want to be befuddled by Yu-Gi-Oh cards and what they consider too risque for America. All right, so without further ado, let's discuss Cruelty Squad. Pete, Jess, who wants to explain to people what Cruelty Squad is? Best, like, 100-foot view.
Jess,
Ooh.
it is your choice.
It
Would
was
you
my
like to do the honors?
choice. God, it defies description a little bit. So, it's a first-person shooter. Let's start there with the genre.
Mhm.
It's definitely mostly a first-person shooter. It's also a stock simulator. It's also a fishing game sometimes. And you are you're a hired like, is it like a PMC? It's so weird. Oh my God. Like you're hired by a corporation to do their like wet work. And this is like a world where corporations and armies, they are like indistinguishable from each other. Like it's the most hyper exaggerated form that capitalism could even possibly do. It's like a huge, ridiculous neo-feudalist dystopia. It's ridiculous, but it's absurd. It's nihilistic. It's ironic. I'm not sure what to make of it, and that's why I think it's so interesting.
Yes, you are some sort of. They call you like a sack of shit, basically. You're a dude whose only skill set seems to be killing, or at least it's the only thing that they say that you're good at when you start the game. So you join this PMC, basically, called the titular Cruelty Squad, and some sort of fart gremlin gives you missions to go kill people.
Yeah, he's like Slimer from Ghostbusters, but
with a
more
trucker hat.
opaque. Yeah.
Yeah, and he gives you missions. I would say, Pete, what would you say the visual aesthetic of this game is?
Like a migraine. It's like if you were at a rave, but they turned all the lights all the way up instead of it being dark. They're mismatched color palettes, weird checks, strobing nonsense lights.
It is like retro PS1 in like graphical integrity, I don't know, style. But like it's got this it reminds me of LSD, the game, not the drug.
Oh yes, yes. It very much. If you've played
Garish.
LSD or Tong Nu, which is the other game by the LSD developer, that is it's Asian Mind, I think, The Lost Spirits of Tong Nu. If you've played that game, it's kind of like that. It kind of looks like, but it looks intentionally gross in a lot of ways. And I will say, Cruelty Squad, it looks like a texture hack.
Yes.
In like for another game. So like a lot of the textures look like they were repurposed assets. So you'll find a lot of walls that are just like a gorilla face or pizza. And it's just the wall. You just have to accept that that's what the wall looks like.
That's one of the things I really like about this game is that it's not like constraining itself to any of those aesthetic rules. Like it's anti-art. It does not care how ugly it is. And it's trying its hardest to be as just garish and hard to look at as possible. And I just think that's like funny to do.
Yes, it definitely leans very hard in that direction. And did everyone leave the motion bob on?
I turned that off.
Okay. Okay, that gave me a little bit of motion sickness. It took me a while to get used to, but I actually ended up leaving it on. Pete, did you get motion sickness or no?
Yes, and I did not understand that there was any potential recourse for that. I assumed that
Oh,
was a
no.
gameplay feature, not a bug.
Sorry.
That's all right. It took some Dramamine to muddle through. It was fine.
Oh my god, I'm sorry to assign such a
I'm
such
joking.
a physically demanding game.
There was no drugging involved.
Dang.
Boo!
I know. I'm sorry.
We're
That would-
a pro drugs podcast.
Yeah, and I mean the beginning of the game does say like we whipped up a new alpha kill cocktail of drugs so that you're going to be extra good at shooting, which is man. Every mission brief in this game is written in just the most online chuddish way
It's so shitposty. The whole game is one big shit post.
that it is.
The descriptions also, if I remember correctly, are bright red text on a green background, or do I have it backwards?
Something like that.
Yeah,
Some horribly off-putting combination.
and the menu looks like a broken Windows machine.
Oh man, the UI in this game is shocking. Like the balls on this Finnish guy to do this to us, to subject us to such a bad UI. It's amazing. It's just like your life bar. It's not a bar. It's like a undulating
pulsating
sphere. Like what the fuck is that? Like to reload your gun, you have to like hold down the middle click button and like scroll it off the screen like you're reloading in a light gun game or something. You have to like load off
Yeah,
screen.
time splitters.
Just insane things to put in a video game. And it's like, who would like this? You know?
Yeah, and like when you open up the menu, all of the options unfurl like intestines or something. Like they move like Snake, like a game of Snake. They unwind themselves, which is off-putting every time it happens. I had a hard time recognizing that menu items were menu items for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They seemed like they were just ugly pictures. I didn't realize that they were actually menu objects I should click on.
Yeah, it's going for this like even in its like UI decisions, it's going for this like naive art angle of like it's the early 90s, early aughts, and we don't know what a good UI is yet. We're throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, and it's the weirdest possible garbage that nobody should ever have to deal with.
Yes, it feels like developer art or placeholder art, and then they just said, and this is what it is forever. So the levels kind of play out in a similar manner, each one. You are assigned a person to assassinate. Their reticle that locates them in the level is present at all times. If you look around, you'll be able to find that reticle, and then if you make a beeline for it, you'll find the person. And then you have to exit through a large texture that just says exit.
The one like genuinely helpful piece of UI in the entire game.
Yeah, true.
Did you ever navigate far enough in a level to see the end of the exit texture?
No, I don't think so. It
Okay.
ends?
It does. There was one level late, like towards the end of the game, where there's a big skyscraper, and I thought I'm just going to climb to the top of that and see if there's an entrance through the top. And when I got up as high as I could get, I could see over the exit texture. I was like, wow, if I jumped and could fly, I could just go straight over that thing, clip straight out of bounds. Awesome.
I don't even think the developer would mind if you did that.
I know. It seemed like it was something they would allow.
Yeah.
And we didn't mention, but like every mission, you're getting paid for your assassinations, and you can take that money and buy upgrades. There are upgrades for your character that range from like body armor to
Grappling hooks.
Well, do we call them grappling hooks?
I'm not sure what else. Grappling intestines, I guess.
Yeah. All of the items you unlock are body modifications, like grotesque, absurd body modifications. So yeah, you can get a double jump where it's like, it describes it as like, it's the second jump is you like exploding like poop out of you or something to give you the lift for the second jump or something.
Yeah,
like
you
so
shoot goo
stupid.
out of your legs. It drills holes into your legs that excretes goo, and that gives you a double jump. And every time you double jump, it makes a fart sound and leaves a mess. It leaves a texture on the ground of goo.
There's also like I think the funniest one was I actually like saved up a lot of money for this. It's the best armor.
Yes.
It's like this big meat mech suit that you are encased in. And its description was just like the best, armor on the market with no obvious downsides. And then you put it on and it's like, okay, I know they're setting me up for a joke. Like, I know they're going to fuck with me here, but I need to know what the joke is. So you put the armor on, you go into level, and the meat suit is so big, it's covering like 20% of all sides of your vision. So it's just this teeny tiny box that you can hardly see anything out of. And there's also like UI elements in that box.
It's
like,
black and white. And it
Oh my
changes the
God.
picture to black and white too.
Like, you got me. All right. Yeah. Fuck me. I'm stupid.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that armor because there are exploits in this game. There are a lot of them. So you get that money. You can buy the upgrades. You can also invest in the stock market. There are 3 categories in the stock market: stocks, which are for companies; organs, which you can purchase and sell, or you can take off of dead enemies or people, just any people. You can harvest their organs to sell on this market; or fish. Did either of you fish at any point?
Yeah. It's the best way to make
Briefly.
money.
How did you fish?
So like in the, oh God, it was so long since I played this. It's like last year before. But in the casino, you can find a fish that doesn't have like it's a little rare to fish it out, but it's like quite lucrative to sell on the stock market. So you can pretty easily just like farm for fish there and get like a decent amount of money to then put back into the stock market and manipulate the stock market. What's cool also is that the stock market fluctuates, I think, if I'm not mistaken, based on stuff you've done in the game. So like if you kill the CEO of a company, their stock is going to be affected.
Yes, and they sometimes tell you what company's CEO you're trying to kill. Sometimes they're just like, this guy messed with us, go kill them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell that like the stock prices across the game change wildly.
Yeah, so like before you go kill this guy, you can buy up a whole bunch of stock in that company and then like sell it for a higher price, like once you kill that guy or something.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe the other way around. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, and that happens for some companies. Their stock goes up. Like there's a Meatoids company that's like, I guess, Beyond Meat or Impossible. It's supposed to be the analog, and it's like it's growing exponentially until you get a mission to basically kill their CEO, and then they fall off a cliff, and you lose all your money if you invested in that. And then there's a mission where you go to a mall and take out some politician who was trying to tax corporations. And as soon as you take them out, everything on the stock market grows exponentially. So if you just invest in any stock before that happens, especially if you invest in the GameStop equivalent, it goes through the roof. Pete, do you want to give, for folks maybe who aren't in the U.S. or folks who don't have the context, why the GameStop stock, like the failing game company stock, would be exploding?
Sure. Well, so basically the way GameStop worked was a whole bunch of people had short positions on GameStop stock to like the point where like some absurd, like greater than 100% of the stock was owned. So people in the U.S. saw this and was like, hey, this is never going to work. Like, we need to get involved. I don't know the exact machinations of the trading of it, but basically what happened was it became a meme stock where a whole bunch of Redditors got together and bought a whole bunch of copies. The value of it skyrocketed. So anybody who took a short position took a bath on it.
Yeah.
Because it became far more valuable than they were expecting it to be. Basically, the same thing happened with AMC theaters as well. It just became something that was a funny in-joke to buy.
Yeah, and this buying just kind of highlighted the kind of ephemeral nature of the value of stocks, because simply because GameStop was a stock that you could purchase, it became a thing that people were investing actual money in, even though the business of the underlying company is worthless.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just imaginary, line go up, right?
Exactly.
Like stocks are fake.
It's the same thing that makes Tesla more valuable than Toyota, despite selling preposterously fewer cars.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so this game kind of abstracts it even more by having 3 categories, the 3 official categories of things that can be owned: stocks, organs, and fish. And the stock market impacts all 3. So like when there's a stock market boom in the game, organ prices go up, fish prices go up. Some stocks just like go exponential, some of them flatline. It's an interesting system, and that's kind of the way I got a lot of money.
It's wild that anyone would combine these things into something that is a first-person shooter. Like,
Yes.
I personally, I've never seen anyone combine a stock market mechanic in a first-person shooter. Like, that definitely makes this different than most video games.
For sure. And this game also, like, when I say that there's a stock market, I don't just mean like when you're on the main menu, you can mess with the stock stuff. There's a button to call up the stock market mid-mission when you're out to execute someone. You're like, hey, I picked up a cyber brain. Let's see what that's doing. Oh, price is going up on cyber brains. Good time to move this brain I picked up. And yeah, so like that's going on. You also have a number of collectibles in the world. You've got money that you can just find in the world. You could pick up health pickups, which are usually food or really ugly looking pizza or chips.
Or organs. You can eat the organs.
Yep. So that's a good point. We should talk about the difficulties. But yeah, you can also find guns on people, and once you've picked up a gun and finished a level with that gun acquired, you unlock that gun to be in your starting loadout, which is helpful.
I also think it's hilarious that in order to fish, you have to sacrifice one of your gun slots for the fishing rod.
Oh, you do? I never even found the rod.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought that it was just a funny joke.
That fish were on the stock market.
Yes.
Well, now you got to go back and find the fishing rod. No, you don't have to.
Yeah, so the difficulty levels in this game, you start out with a normal difficulty, and do you know how you earn the other difficulties, Pete?
Yeah, I do firsthand. You die
A lot, yeah.
a lot. Yeah.
I'm dog shit at playing this game, by the way. I'm not good at first-person shooters, like, at all, basically. I just play them on, like, pretty casual difficulty levels, usually. And not a single level did I beat in this game on the initial difficulty, because it starts fucking hard.
It does. It starts hard, and also they charge you money every time you die to get your body back, basically. And if you die enough times, they turn you into some terrible flesh monster that can respawn on your own.
So bad at video games, you become an aberration.
Yes, and once you've become an aberration, you gain the ability to eat corpses.
Yeah. So it's not all bad. It's not all that bad, being bad at video games.
And eating corpses heals you, but only 1% of your health.
So stupid.
Which is very gross and funny every time you do it. It's also very funny when you eat someone or shoot them too much, they explode into giblets that include like head, torso, arms, and I think legs, and then organs, which you can then pick up to sell, as I said before.
It's a very, very disturbing squishing noise every time it happens.
Yeah. Did either of you use the like throw limbs mechanic?
Oh,
No,
like,
I saw the
like
upgrades for like throw strength, and I was like, I have guns. Why would I
Yeah.
throw things?
I like experimented with it once, but I was like, I'm already bad enough at this game. I don't need to do this.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't want to remember what the button is to throw.
Mm-hmm.
My stupid hands can only handle so much. Did either of you use leaning at all?
Leaning.
No,
You can lean?
you can lean. Yeah.
Is it helpful? What is it,
I
like
mean, I
around
don't really-
corners?
I don't really lean in regular games much either, but yeah, I guess it's for, peeking around corners and things like
I
that.
don't lean in like life much, let alone my games.
Mm-hmm.
You don't ever just peer around a corner and go tee hee hee and then
It's like, ooh, what's going on over there?
peek back around?
No.
Oh, weird.
Only
That's
if I'm
all
trying
I
to
do.
only if I'm trying to scare somebody.
That's fair.
Got to
Yeah,
see where they are.
From what I can tell, the only thing the lean does is it lets you see around a corner without aggroing things.
That's usually how leans work in games, right?
Yeah, so you can like shoot around a corner without the person immediately aggroing the same way they would if you just walked around the corner. So it has its uses, but again, I'm not trying to hit more buttons than I need to hit with my stupid hand.
Mhm.
I'm having enough trouble just reloading. Like, I don't need to start leaning into the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first level is just like an office building. And I found like even the very first level, I was impressed by the level design.
Mhm.
here.
It has a really classic, like, again, I haven't played a shitload of FPS games, but it felt like kind of like one of the maps from GoldenEye or something. Like, it has
Yeah, I
this
was
like
going to say.
boxy simplicity, but there's a lot of like little like shortcuts and little alternate routes you can find.
And hidden stuff in the levels. Like it
Yeah.
reminded me, I have not played the original Deus Ex, but it reminded me a little bit of how I've heard that game described with, instead of stats or something, there are just a bunch of different ways depending on what items you have unlocked.
I feel like this game also kind of like dips into a bit of an RPG element because your loadouts can be so different and so weird, and your power-ups can be like kitted out to be a totally different play style. For sure. And like your abilities, you get 3 slots. You've got a head slot, an armor slot, an arm slot, and a leg slot, basically. And that armor slot, like you said, Jess, there's some armors that change the game pretty radically. Oh, and I think there's also a head slot. Head slot. Yeah, so like the head slot, you could equip something that like protects you from headshots, or you could equip something that lets you see life signatures through walls. So you can see where enemies are and where things are in the world without having to look around the corner. For the legs, you can get stuff that makes you move faster, or you can give yourself a double jump. For the arms, you could have a grenade, or you can have the grapple intestines. Those grapple intestines were so hard to use. I was so bad at using them. I was just totally hopeless. It was also on a very weird key, right? It was on like H or something strange. It was like F or G or H. Yeah, it was on that row, and it was weird to use, unintuitive. But I found that most of my things that felt like I was doing an exploit involved the grapple intestines. Yeah. Which, as if you can't tell, listener, from what I'm saying, they're a grappling hook made of intestines.
Yep. You throw your stomach.
Throw your guts everywhere, and you're swinging on your guts.
Yep. So, like, the first level, I feel, is pretty straightforward. Were there any levels that jumped out to you as especially clever? Like, I enjoyed finding the vents in the office level. I enjoyed mucking around in the parts of the level that did not involve the CEO that you're supposed to take out. But there were definitely some other ones that jumped out a ton. Jess, were there any that you remember especially fondly?
I do like the suburb one.
Really?
I think because there was a stupid Funko Pop joke in there, and I thought like, like a normal joke. That's weird. Like that was like remarkable to me. There was like a regular like just a jab at Funko Pops in here very specifically, and also like there was some basement where I got the shit scared out of me because there was like a monster in the basement that I never had seen before that point, and I was like, this game has this too. What the fuck? So I don't know. That left an impression, and I wouldn't say I liked it, but I feel like because I really the level that I kind of banged my head against a lot was the mall where you have to kill that politician.
Yep.
Because there are giant kill bots in it that
the
murder
Skullomechs.
They murder you so dead so fast. So it's kind of like forcing you to find a lot of the little secret events and shortcuts and stuff like that, because it's like, man, good luck with these robots. I don't know. But that one took me like many tries because I was like, it's personal. I need to get through this for some reason.
Yeah, that level, I mean, once you take out the politician, it closes some of the doors. So
Yep.
you have to find another exit, or you have to find a clever way to kill the politician so that you can get out before the doors.
Yeah.
Pete, what levels did you find especially memorable or fun?
So the one I remember the most was also my favorite joke in the whole game, where through a clerical error, the corporation for which you work sends out assassins to kill you. So you're basically just in your house, and they send wave after wave of goons at you for you to kill.
That was cool. I like that level, actually. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Nice. You didn't have to find too much. It was pretty straightforward. I understood the premise. And then after you finish it, you go back to the corporation, and they're just like, oh, sorry, bro. Here's your next mission.
I feel like that's like a continuing joke throughout the game, is just how cavalier all of this is. Like, this is like, you're killing people left, right, center. You're using your organs to fling around, and everybody's just like, meh. Like, everyone's so desensitized to it. It's like completely absurd.
Yeah, like everybody at the bank in the suburbs levels just like, happy hump day, everybody.
Yeah.
Another Wednesday.
Oh, it's so stupid. I love it.
And I mean, most of the people that you approach in the levels, if you haven't gone loud and like shot in someone's presence, they'll just like talk to you about their weird nonsense. And I really appreciated, there was a level Seaside Shock where you're on a boat. And the whole premise is that it's a like libertarian aquatic like this boat is a country and no one can stop us from trading our e-coins on this boat.
Yeah, it's a seasteading joke.
Yeah, it's a seasteading joke, and everyone you talk to is the same brand of libertarian. And they're just like, I hadn't had sex until I came to this boat, and then they provide us 2 to 3 flesh beings a week, depending on how we do on the boat.
This game has good jokes.
It does.
That's pretty funny.
It does. It's off-putting. It's gross. But a lot of the things that it's critiquing are off-putting and gross.
Yeah.
The mall has good, I think the stores are like pleasure, pain.
Oh, right.
I
forgot about that. They're like concepts.
Purity. Yeah, and it just says that strength, and it just says that on the door. If you go into purity, it's just like, I guess a clothing store.
I guess they sell that here. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. The levels that I found weird exploits on in the mall, I was having a hell of a time with it. And that's the level where you can find a rocket launcher
Mm-hmm.
in the gun store. And so the way I beat that level was, first I got to the gun store, which was hard because of the giant killbots. But then once I had the rocket launcher, I just shot the rocket launcher into... So the person you were supposed to assassinate was behind some glass. So you kind of had to either get up to them or be able to shoot over the glass.
They made it pretty hard to get to that politician because there's also killbots on either side of the podium or whatever that he was on, right?
Yes, there were. And there were a bunch of mercenaries who were there to take you out too. So what I did was I got the rocket launcher and just shot the rocket launcher from far away because the explosion clipped through walls.
Oh, good idea.
So I just jumped, shot him, killed him from basically the entrance to his area. And then after you kill him, it raises a mesh, a wall basically. So you can't go out the normal exit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you shoot from the entrance, basically, you can get out before the wall comes up and you can just go straight to the exit.
Nice tactic. I saw I don't know if it was a speedrunner or if it was just somebody who's trying to see, I wonder if I can do this shit. But the aforementioned libertarian boat level, I saw somebody use the grapple intestines just right to go from the very start where you start in this level, grapple all the way over the top of this cruise ship to the pool, the Lido deck or whatever, where these 3 guys or whatever you have to assassinate are, and just popped him while in the air with a sniper rifle. And then it was just you did it, find the exit.
Yeah, you could do that.
Holy shit, cool.
That is awesome. The bog, so there's a level where you have to kill some, I guess, bog people, some sort of cult in the swamps. How did you beat that level? Because I'll tell you how I beat the level, but I don't know what you're supposed to do. Pete, did you beat that level?
I don't remember how, if I did.
Yeah, I don't remember how if I did either, because it was just
probably.
Yeah, I just remember trying really hard, struggling with the grapple intestines in that one, having no idea how to use them.
Okay, because in that level, if you touch the bog, you get poisoned. And I didn't find a way to cure poison or deal with the poison, so I just kept dying. And then I bought the horrible flesh suit, which is the best armor in the game, and it protects you from poison.
Oh.
Turns out.
Look
So
at
there
that.
really are no downsides.
There are no downsides.
I was like, I'm hermetically sealed in here. That should protect me from the bog. And it did.
Yeah.
It actually did. So I just made a beeline straight for the target, walked through the bog, and shot him.
Nice.
Which was pretty good. And then Idiot Party, which is the one where there's a secret society that's in a multi-level castle, and everyone's dressed up in masks and stuff.
Was this the level where everybody was talking about a fictional video game they were obsessed with?
I didn't talk to enough of them to know.
Damn.
It's the one that seemed to be a secret, it was a secret society, Skull and Bones sort of thing. Eyes Wide Shut sort of thing.
A lot of things blend together when it all looks this garish.
Yes, when everything's this ugly. But that level, the way you're, I think, supposed to, quote unquote, supposed to do it is you start at the top floor and then you fight your way down floor by floor until you get to the basement, at which point you kill the bad guy. I shouldn't even say bad guy. Kill the target and then take an elevator up. But the elevator chute that you ride up on when you beat the level, it's there. It's a chute, So if you have the grapple testings, you can just walk around the entire level, go to the exit chute, and just grapple down.
That's really good. Something I really respect about this game is that it does have these exploits that feel like intentional. Like they kind of left these little loopholes for you in case you figured it out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like, I don't know. Like this game deserves more credit. It is a video game. It thought of those things. It wants you to have fun.
That is what impressed me the most, was that for as much as it's doing this kind of garish look, it's got its capitalism commentary, the level design itself is really solid. There's fun things to discover if you just stay in these levels long enough, like in the mall level, finding the rocket launcher. For a while, I was just making a beeline at things, and then I just started investigating because I couldn't beat the level without looking around a little more. I found a hallway where a floor dropped out, and then there were zombies.
Yes! What the hell is with that? I remember that.
I don't know.
That was great. That was hilarious.
There was a room in the first level where there was just a lab full of rats and some sort of zombie creature, and if you go far enough in there, the rats break out, and then they attack you.
It just makes me wonder, like, what got left on the cutting room floor if this stuff made it in.
Yeah. Pete, did you have any moment that really surprised you or impressed you?
I'll be honest, I don't think I spent enough time in the levels to find most of what you all noted. Like, I saw some of it, but, like, why put all your cool stuff behind something so punishing to play?
That's fair.
That's art. It's hostile to the player. It makes you earn it. And I think that's kind of a funny thing to do.
I think that some of it, Pete, at least for me, some of those alternate routes were early enough in the levels that I investigated them as a legitimate way to progress, thinking that it might be easier than what I was doing, right? So, like, because the game was difficult, it prompted me to look for shortcuts. And then once my brain unlocked and was like, okay, there are shortcuts, it made the levels, like some of these levels I beat in a minute or two. Because I found the shortcut and then figured out what to do. Like that apartment level you talked about, it can be quite difficult. Like you can have a hard time with the waves of enemies they send at you. There are poison enemies in here, but the target is right next to your room. And if you know the fastest way to the exit, you can just like run straight to it. And who cares if you get out of there with like 1% health because people are shooting at you.
Yeah, just bunny hop.
As long as you touch the exit, you're done.
Yeah, my issue isn't with gameplay difficulty. I mean, I don't like Dark Souls games either, but I at least like understand them. My issue is more with the deliberate hideousness of everything.
That's because you have a philosophy degree and I have an art degree. We are mortal enemies in this way. Why not? You know, just like, fuck it. Like, wouldn't it be kind of funny if this was like so ugly, but had this like secret, really good gameplay loop in it? Like it kind of, I don't know. It's a don't judge its book by its cover sort of situation. I don't know.
And I mean, I think part of this also, Pete, is that this game is kind of aping an early, I guess, a late 90s aesthetic. So would you call this a boomer shooter, Jess? Would you say?
I don't know.
Is that a real category of things?
Yeah,
that is a category of things now. I'm sorry.
It is. That's what's weird. It's that I have arguments with the name to begin with because I feel like it doesn't really, because my parents are boomers. They don't play video games. Why are we calling these boomer shooters? They should be called like millennial shooters or something. It's not accurate. But I don't know. I guess it could be called that. I don't really know what the actual, I think boomer shooter is more of a vibe than like a solid definition of something. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it more as like games that are trying to ape the feel of Doom or Quake or those early shooter, like those foundational shooters, specifically PC shooters. That is usually what I think of when I hear that category. And why it's called boomers is because Zoomers have no respect for us. I'm sorry.
Well, like, it's like Half-Life a boomer shooter, do you think?
Ooh, I feel like that's on the edge.
See, like, I feel like this game is closer.
But I feel like a game that's aping Half-Life or Deus Ex or something would be a boomer shooter if it was made in 2023 or 2022.
I wonder.
Right? Like, it's a fuzzy definition, but it's definitely, this game is trying to evoke those games as much as anything. And that's why, like, polygons are deliberately simple. Some of the choices, like, I found on the Seaside Shock, which is the level with the boat, there was colored lighting that was used. in that, and the way that the colored lighting functioned reminded me of those older games. Like when you're outside of the colored lighting, you see the colored lighting as like this. It looks like what it sounds like, right? You got some color, it filters everything. But the second you puncture the like box that makes up the colored lighting, it all goes away because actually it's just a filter.
I wonder how hard that is to actually have it look that way. Like, like this game looks deliberately like slipshod and like unfinished in a lot of places on purpose. And it makes me wonder, because this is often the case with quote unquote naive art, is that there is an intention to make it look bad for some reason. And sometimes it can be hard to make something look bad when you know what looks good. And that's kind of like the weird caveat with naive art that makes everyone roll their eyes at it. Of course, it's absurd, it's ridiculous, but it's one of those why not situations. But I know, like, speaking of boomer shooters, I just played Slayer's X Terminal Aftermath Vengeance of the Slayer, which rules, and that is a boomer shooter 100%. And I don't know if you know this game, by the way.
Is that the one with the Z? With the Z, like you're charging up some sort of thing?
Yeah,
with
the S-Blade has a hack blood charge. But yeah, that's it. And it's like very deliberately trying to look like that. And I remember, because I follow Jay Tholen, the creator of this game and of Hypnospace Outlaw, and like he's tweeted about like the painstaking process of getting the look right for not just this but also Hypnospace, and like all the research that went into like narrowing down this weird aesthetic, and how like for this boomer shooter he couldn't get the sprites looking quite right the way that they kind of rotate in older games. Especially when there's something above you, like it would just be a flat piece of paper above you that you couldn't like make out. So he had to like specifically figure out how to make this like functional so you can shoot this thing while it's still technically a 2D texture in the air. So it's I wondered that about this game too. Like what was tricky about this? Like it looks unfinished, but it's on purpose, and that can be really difficult to pull off.
Yeah, and it's I think to that point, games of the era that this game is aping, engines were not readily available in the way that they are now. So like because Unreal, Unity, Game Maker, some of the big video game engines that developers use nowadays, because they have standard templates for certain functionality, you get games that behave a certain way, like even down to like the renderer, right? Like a lot of people are going to go with the default way of rendering graphics. They're not going to screw around with that stuff. But part of what gave some charm to those games in the late 90s, early 2000s was, they had to make the camera and then make the game and then make the way to code the game. Like all this stuff were decisions made by discrete people who sometimes just made different decisions than other companies. And so if you're trying to replicate a very specific look and feel, when that look and feel was a combination of happenstance and mistakes, that's just a lot of stuff to take into account. So you're like taking a modern engine and you're crapping it up, like reverse engineering it. You are dumbing this thing down on purpose to make it look this way, which is more, like you said, in some cases more difficult than making it look quote unquote good.
Yeah. What engine is this in? Unity?
I'm
looking
not
this
sure.
up. Looking this up right now.
Excellent.
Godot. What? What is that engine? What the fuck is Godot?
I've heard that before.
It's a cross-platform, free and open source. Yeah, waiting for Godot. Godot is a cross-platform, free and open source game engine released under the MIT license.
Sick.
It was developed for several countries in Latin America prior to its public release. Wow, that is leave it to this guy making a weird niche game with a weird niche game engine. What the hell's Godot?
I have heard of it before, but I have not dabbled with it. But that's incredible.
What else is made in Godot? Now I'm going down the fucking wiki hole here. I got to know what else has been made with this. Interesting.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Well, I appreciate the effort that went into this aesthetic. Perhaps what I don't understand is what it's trying to tell me. Like,
what do you think it's trying to tell you?
Well, I think all right. I watched some YouTube videos.
Okay. Oh no.
Oh no.
I was curious why this game was popular. And the argument people made is that it's supposed to represent the alienation one feels under late stage capitalism. So in the same way you're alienated by capitalism, this game alienates you by its aesthetic and gameplay. My issue with that is it's a critique that I don't think applies to capitalism. So like if you're saying that like capitalism alienates you in the way this game's aesthetic does, it really doesn't. The whole like hallmark of environments in late stage capitalism are their seamlessness.
What?
They become the term is airspaces. So like everything looks the same, the aesthetics the same. It's all sort of flat Airbnb style design.
So basically, what you're saying is like a
You
late
disagree with
stage
the aesthetic because of the commentary doesn't match the aesthetic?
Yes,
Like it should be
I'm saying
anodyne.
the commentary isn't something I can use. So like it doesn't fit the way capitalism actually operates.
I'm caught on your claim that capitalism doesn't alienate people.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Unless
I'm saying
fully
it alienates us in a different way.
a different way that's more Airbnb
Yeah,
coded.
that's more sterile.
Well, you also have to keep in mind that this is, I assume, are we all American here? I don't know.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Okay. You also have to keep in mind that this is by a Finnish guy having a very, very, almost a tantrum, at American capitalism specifically. So he's coming from, compared to where we come from, a fucking utopian country. Where they don't have the fucked up shit. There aren't people I'm painting with a very, very broad brush here, but this is a place that everyone gets to go to school for free. The prisons are actually humane. All that stuff. And this person is very clearly like taking, this far more humane society that they're from and like looking at our society through the lens of like, why are we like that? Why is America like this? This feels very like a very pointed critique of American hypercapitalism. And it's going way past far with it. Like that's why the aesthetic is so extreme. It's so hideous. That's why the things people are doing are so extreme and so hideous, because it's like we are continuously numbed by just the constant bullshit of our lives and how cruel it is. Like, there's people begging on Twitter day in, day out. I can't make my rent. I can't pay for food. I can't do this. I can't go to school. Like, that's a human rights issue, practically. So it's cruel. And I feel like, we're gradually desensitized to that. This guy from Finland is asking, how far is it going to go? Like, will you care if this does happen one day? If there is a stock market for fucking organs? Like,
And
it's like,
just for
what is
reference,
the end point of this capitalism?
the pancreas is the most worthless organ. In case you were wondering,
That
it's
is
the
true.
pancreas.
Yeah. We don't need that one.
Okay. Yeah, the stock market for organs makes perfect sense to me. I don't see how like making your color palette like red on green or like having this weird neon checkerboard for a floor maps onto like the specifics of American capitalism.
Well, I think, it's, going back to like, desensitization, numbness toward the situation. I think like the aesthetic is kind of paired up with that aspect because, oddly, the more you play this game, the more you do get used to how fucking ugly it is. Like you start being accepting of it and just being like, oh, of course, there's just a texture on the wall that looks like fucking goatsy. Who cares? Like, I just need to do the objective and I'm having fun anyway. So I don't care what the textures look like. I think it's just like another little thing that's kind of pointing toward like the idiom of like, the frog in the boiling water. Like it's just getting warmer and warmer and the frog doesn't notice until it's dead. That sort of thing that isn't actually true, but it's a saying. And I think it's paired up with that. Like that's the part of the aesthetic. I think you're taking the aesthetic of capitalism, with the Airbnb mention, you're taking like that a little too literally, maybe.
I think like the one thing I would say is I feel like this game's critique of capitalism is coming from like a Clockwork Orangey direction. Where it's hyper violence, it's stylized in a way that's off-putting.
It's sophomoric.
Yeah, sophomoric. It's just close enough to reality and some of the dialogue to resonate, but then a lot of the aesthetics are just off enough to feel off-putting.
Yeah, it's icky.
And then by the end of it, like you said, just like I found the gameplay to be smooth enough, which is a weird thing to say from a game that I found so off-putting when I first started playing it, that the garishness did not bother me quite so much. The fact that one of the enemies is a golem, which is just like 6 circles stacked on each other like a fucking snowman, just running at you. I was like, oh, of course, the golem. You need to watch out for that thing.
Peter, you're going to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I appreciate the added context. But then by that logic, the appropriate response to this game would be to stop playing it.
Exactly. Exactly, though.
I didn't finish it.
Okay.
That's exactly your
So wait,
choice.
okay, then I have a follow-up question then.
Yeah.
So if the proper response is to not play the game and it's meant to be deliberately off-putting, why is it popular? Why do people enjoy it?
That I don't know the answer to. And I also don't know like how do we measure popularity? You know, you get down into some
I'm just basing it on
nitty-gritty,
Steam
you know.
scores. That's the only Metacritic style information I have.
I think, you know, this game, you know, a lot of Steam games survive on word of mouth. And I think this is a game that's really like, I think its garishness works for it in that way because it's so strange. It's like nothing you've really ever seen before in its aesthetic, that there's something intriguing about that. And I think that just kind of attracts people. And I also feel like the anti-capitalist message is just something that resonates with a lot of people these days. We're pretty fed up, and it doesn't matter how like obvious it is. We just want to hear someone say like, no, you're right. It's fucked up. You're right.
Yeah.
Like the message is like absolutely dead ass obvious. Like, it's just like, yeah, capitalism bad, but it's like, it's got a little bit more things when you drill down into it about how all the different ways it can be bad besides just capitalism bad. I think it's just something people want to be reassured of right now. I think everybody's kind of in this nihilistic, I never know how to say that word, mindset right now. And I think a little nihilistic game it's the right time for one of those, I think. I don't know why it's popular.
Yeah, I think it leans on a couple different things. One, I think making a traditional first-person shooter that plays the way this one does, there's an audience for that. Like, it's a niche audience, but it exists. For a game that kind of evokes late 90s. Like, we are of the age where this game probably evokes some games we played as young kids. So this would be a good time to tap into this specific nostalgic feel. I think that, like you said, Jess, its subject matter really resonates with folks. And the hyper-specificity of some of the things it's lampooning, I think, work. Like,
Funko guy.
yeah. Like, the person, like a tech startup who takes all their tech startup money and spends it on Funko Pops and a PMC to protect them so they can hang out in their pool with their Funko Pops. That works. There's like the Office level, you have to take out fake Elizabeth Holmes. And her name is like Schmelizabeth Momes or something.
Something like that. I don't remember.
Elsa Holmes.
Yes.
And, you know, some of the people you talk to are like, yeah, she's terrible. She doesn't care about whether we live or die.
You know what I think is interesting about this game? It is like, I feel like there's not a lot of games out there that are just, they have the subtlety of a political cartoon. They are just dead ass what they are. They are straightforward and unabashedly just shouting what it's about. And I think like that simplicity is also like something that is alluring. Like it's so funny because it's like talking about this stuff is pretentious, but the game itself is not very pretentious. You know, I feel like it's pretty relatable stuff it's talking about. It's angry. Like, I feel like anger is just, this game is seething mad about capitalism. And I think that's like something that is easy to relate to at this point in time. And I think that's a really appealing part of it.
And I also think games that look kind of like butt are coming around as an aesthetic choice.
We're in an incredibly ironic era right now when it comes to humor, when it, you know, everything is like very, you know, 5 degrees separated from the core, you know, aesthetic of what it used to be, like what comedy used to be. It's now people taking a sip of the Grimace drink and then dying. Like, that's the joke now. You know, it's so absurdist. And like, I think we're just really primed for more absurdist video games. And it's like, ooh, here's one. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that one of the games, Pete, we played earlier this year for the show was Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. And I feel like that game and this game, from an aesthetic perspective, exist in a continuum, right?
Yeah.
Probably why I hated them both.
I hated this less.
That's also an incredibly hostile game toward the
player. It was even more hostile.
It is.
Yeah.
I shouldn't compare the two. Like, that is overtly angry that you're playing it.
I don't know. It's also, you know, Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It is also very similar to QWOP, which is like, why would you play this? This is not fun. Is it fun? What's fun? You know, like, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, and I think that this game is much more parsable as just a straightforward shooter. Like, I enjoyed when I was in the Paradise level, which is the suburbs level you mentioned, Jess, when I realized, oh, there's a manhole cover there. I wonder if I can kick that manhole cover and go down into the sewers. You can, in fact. There's an entire sub-level in that level that you can go into.
I never ever went down there. Are you kidding me?
It's full of rats. I didn't either. I kicked it open, and then I saw poisonous rats, and I was like, that seems worse than the street level.
Oh, I love all the secrets. What the fuck? He didn't have to do that. This
didn't.
developer didn't have to do that. Like, there's so many nooks and crannies. Like, even though it's like, why would you put this in this game? Nobody's gonna interact with it. I don't know. That's something that like you don't see a lot of these days either, because like it's so incredibly hard to make video games. It's ridiculous. It's a miracle any of them come out. But like, why would you waste resources making something that 90% of players are never going to see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to like, well, the developer wants it there. That's important to them, that it's there, this little secret or this little Easter egg or this little, hidden passage somewhere. And like, it's hard to find that kind of passion these days in modern games because it is so built by committee and it's so constrained by budget and time that you don't really get to see these little shimmers of personality peek through in anything anymore. So, and here's a game that's just like overtly blasting you with its personality, like with ill regard as to whether or not you like its personality.
For sure. And I think that the way that this game specifically is built, because it is so simple in its geometry for the most part, and its rule set is not that huge, I bet the cost of adding those secret levels, like secret levels and secret passageways in the levels, was not that daunting. Right? Mm-hmm. Like the cost to make an asset in this game is not huge. So a few developers could probably turn out a level in a reasonable amount of time. And when you compare that to like the way AAA games are made nowadays, where you might need to give a whole human being a day or two to make a vase, just one vase, that looks right, you probably can do a lot more iteration and a lot more clever designs in something that intentionally lowers its aim in terms of scope and scale.
Yeah.
I know that it doesn't make you like the game, Pete, but do you feel like you have a better understanding?
I'm so sorry to like gush on and on about like something that you're just like, no, I don't get it.
I appreciated all your critiques. What's the positive word for critiques?
Critique is a positive word. It's fine.
Yeah, your explanation for the game. I understood it. I don't feel like anything went over my head. I remain unconvinced that it's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Or of the like practical value of its critique, but perhaps
does any critique have practical value?
That's a good point.
If it can't be actually applied to anything, this game's not going to change the world.
And it's not going to change itself either.
Demand more practice. I do appreciate that this developer went out and they were like, look, here's exactly what I want to do. F you if you don't like it, and this is what's happening. I do think that's an impulse that's sort of missing in mainstream Sotheby's art.
Right.
And I think at least I did not enjoy the aesthetic all that much. I enjoyed the level design in an intellectual sense. I enjoyed some of the moment-to-moment gameplay. Some of it I hated. Like, aiming in this game sucks shit sometimes, especially at small targets.
Yeah.
Some of the guns are not fun to use. But at the end of the day, I appreciated this much more than some of the other games that seem to actively hate us. Last year, Jess, if you were not aware, last year on our podcast, we had the year of torture due to a betrayal during Game of the Year. The year before, I broke a tie in a way that our third co-host, M, did not enjoy. And so every third game we played sucked shit.
Ooh.
And it ended in us playing Getting Over It. And this game feels way less interested. Like, it's mad, it's got a message, but it gets in, it gets out.
Yeah.
In a way that some of those other games we played, like Getting Over It, which they just wanted you to sit there just feeling uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then have a fucking video game man lecture in your ear about why suffering is good. Like I didn't like that much.
Oh man.
This is just like your legs shoot farts that let you double jump. I can't get that mad at that.
Yeah, how can you be mad at that? That's hilarious. Like it's absurd. I love it. I don't know if you looked into the creator of this game. His name is Villecaio. I don't know if I said that right. He's fucking Finnish. But he like before this, he just did like shitpost gallery art stuff. And like he's got videos on his YouTube channel that are just exactly the same aesthetic as Cruelty Squad, with like text to speech, like reading off these screeds about neo-feudalism and like the innate frustration that we all feel and all of us hurtling toward a violent future and stuff like that. And it's like they're good like I don't know, like complementary pieces to Cruelty Squad because they super duper look like it and they super duper sound like it. And they also like, they have the same vibe of like just someone kind of screaming in the street about something. Like you don't want to get involved with that person, but they're making a good point. It's hostile art.
Yeah, I think that was my big takeaway is I came in expecting to not like this game very much. And I had actual motion sickness for like a half hour.
Yeah, I got sick.
Once I got over that, once I ascended beyond motion sickness and how much the game seemed to hate me, I found things to enjoy here.
What's also really funny is that the creator is very like hostile themselves to people trying to be pretentious about this game and like assign it a ton of meaning. And it's like, you made a very like politically evocative game, dude. Sorry, but you know, it's just
a George Bataille quote. It's like,
right?
What did you expect?
Yeah, right. But like, he's just like a big shitposty kind of person. And it's like, this whole game is just a big joke. And it's also another joke that it's like so evocative, but please don't ruin this by interpreting it in any way. That's so stupid and funny.
Yeah, it is what it is, but I think it definitely achieves its goals. Your mileage may vary if you enjoy Cruelty Squad, but I haven't played anything like it, and that doesn't necessarily come along all the time. So I can at least appreciate it from that perspective. And it doesn't seem to have been designed from a place of malice towards the player as much as
getting over it.
And yeah, like that game actively dislikes you.
Yeah, it's not I want to be the guy or anything like that, you know.
Yeah,
if you know about that one, pretty famous. I don't know.
Yeah, that it is not I want to be the guy. It is not like one of those games that's just mad at you.
It's mad at something else, and it wants you to be mad with it. I think
as it should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts on Cruelty Squad?
I wrote sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, mine's going to be short. I still don't like it. I appreciate that it's trying to do something important, and it's doing it in I was about to say fun. That would have been a lie. It's doing it in an interesting and unique way that I don't necessarily think was for me. I'll finish that way.
Yeah, fair. I like this game despite how bizarre it is. Because it's so bizarre, I don't know. It's unabashed in what it just fucking is. And I think that's cool. And I just wrote like some random like thoughts on this page. And one of them is PCP is a great vid. So you should watch. There's a video he made called PCP on Vile Calio's YouTube page. I also wrote down necropolitics. That's a word that he used in something.
Yeah, that's Mbembe.
Oh, didn't know that. But
I think that's necropolitics.
He might have quoted it before.
Yeah, I think he's necropolitics.
Necropolitics. I learned about necropolitics and neo-feudalism. Thank you, game.
All right. Well, Pete, with that, I believe it is your turn to pick once again.
It is. So I'm going to pick. I'm not sure how to pronounce this game. I've only ever read it, obviously. I think it's Gorogoa, Gorogoa. Gorogoa. It's like a puzzly game, but with a story to it.
Ooh.
It won some awards.
It did. Best debut it won.
Yeah, back in 2017. So very timely.
Yeah, we nailed it. Well, it would only be perfect if it was both from 2017 and also the second entry in its series.
It would be perfect if it were the sequel, but I don't think it is, unfortunately.
No, this has a look.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like the style of this.
All right, I will add it to cart. It is now next to Final Fantasy III in my cart because I still have to play that. Oh boy.
Enjoy.
All right. So with that, thank you, Pete.
Yep, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah, it was nice being on. Thanks for having me.
In case people tuned out at the beginning, it is VoidBurger everywhere, correct?
Yep.
If they want to follow your stuff?
Yep. Check me out on all the things that seemingly matter at this current moment.
Excellent. And a reminder, if you want to get in touch with the show, you can do so at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. And you can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace.
Break it down like this.